Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Hot Tea and MTG. I'm your host, Critical Failure. It is 5:24 in the morning. I got a cup of butterscotch blondie to start the day, and we're going to go over my green deck. This is my, I guess you'd call it a legacy or a vintage green deck that I talked about in the end of the last video. I built this 20 years ago. I got it out 10 years ago and made some slight changes with it, played with it some, and then put it away, and it hasn't been touched until now. I got this out probably, 3 weeks ago? 3 weeks, maybe a month that I've been back into Magic the Gathering, and I looked at it a little bit, played with my son some, and it's just been a huge blast from the past. So let's take a look a little bit at what we got here. All right. I gotta say, I like these old Mirage boxes. You don't really see these anymore. I had no idea in those days that Mirage was going to be a desired or more expensive set. We just bought it because it was cool. So thankfully I've got a few of those boxes still hanging around from the old days. Alright. We got some lands. I don't know what set this is from. It's either revised. I want to say revised, but I like the old tap symbol with the sideways T. If you can get your hands on the old tap symbol, you're doing okay. The Land of War Sentinel, an old favorite. When one comes out, if you got 2 green or 2 mana, then you got another one. So that was a card that I think, at that time, I thought was better than it really was. Old Ice Age Forest. Here's another old favorite. The Thallid. Now this is the original Saproling counter-producing card. Come on now, please focus. Ah, there we go. Every 3 turns, that's about as good as it's gonna get. Every 3 turns, it gets a token, a counter. And if you got 3 counters, you have a Saproling. Now in those days, we used to use Pogs. I would put out Pogs for the 1/1 creatures, and to tap it, you would just flip them over, and that worked just fine. So we got some more forests. Original Land of War Elves. It's great to see this card back in action. But I gotta say, this is another one that highlights how the artwork has changed. Now, if you pay attention to the artwork, this is a painting. And this is a painting that's okay with you seeing the brush strokes. And it doesn't have to be photorealistic. And because of that, I think it's so much better. I don't think all of the artwork needs to be photorealistic anymore. But what are you going to do? Alright, so I did mention that I got this out about 10 years ago. And I played with it some, and I made some minor changes. This is the Elvish Warrior. Being a 2/3 creature for only 2 mana, I put in a bunch of these. But I think that might have been the only change I can remember making. Another Sentinel. Cockatrice. There was no Death Touch at the time. Death Touch was not a term that was being used yet. So that's a flying monster that has Death Touch, but for whatever reason, it doesn't apply to walls. And then we got Tranquility. My older brother ran a black deck that was based off of Breeding Pit, a couple of Dark Moons, and Pestilence. And it would just drive us nuts. So I had to put in Tranquilities to try and get around my older brother's deck. Okay, here you go. The Elvish Scout. Now it's only a 1/1 1-drop creature. It's pretty simple. And it can untap target creature you control, and they neither deal nor receive damage. But look at the artwork on this card. This is a card that, in my opinion, the artwork was better than the card itself. And I think because of that, I kept it in my deck for quite a long time. Probably should have replaced it a long time ago. But I was really taken with the artwork, so it stuck around. The Old Fog. This is another one that, like, this card is still around in another incarnation. But it's more expensive than it used to be. You used to be able to get it for a 1-drop. We got Tranquility again. More Elvish Warriors. Fountain of Youth. Here's another classic. I saw a post on Reddit, people talking about this being their favorite. This being their favorite flavor text. And I gotta say, I just might agree. Come on now, can we get it? Okay. The fountain had stood in the town square for centuries, but only the pigeons knew its secret. Good writing. Very good writing. I like to see the good writing that's brief. It doesn't have to drag on and on and on and on. Alright? paints a clear picture that's clever in only one sentence. Alright, there's the Crawworm. That's another classic. Giant Growth in its old artwork. We've got more Land and War Sentinels. More old school Giant Growth. Regeneration. Now, regeneration is a skill that I don't see many creatures with. It's still around, but I don't see it as much as we used to. Come on, can we get a good focus now? So here's a creature enchantment that can... Please, come on, focus. Oh my gosh, I'm getting angry. Getting angry. George is getting upset. There we go. There we go. Think regeneration is overpowered? Put it on anybody. Wait, that's an enchant. We'll put that there. Another Thallid with alternate artwork. We've got Undergrowth, which is Fog, with the added ability where you can pay extra mana to let the only red creatures deal the damage. Horned Troll, got a little regenerate there. Taste of Paradise, give me some extra life, please. More alternate artwork for Giant Growth. There's another Elvish Warrior. Taste of Paradise. More Thallids. This was my favorite card when I was a kid. It really was. Stream of Life, which was, in my opinion, or the way I always thought of this, was the exact opposite of the card Fireball. If you remember Fireball. Now here's one for you. Roots. This is the only card I can think of that is in play right now from the Homelands set. Homelands is... I only ever hear people say bad things about Homelands, but we really liked it because you could get a pack for 99 cents. So I remember getting a lot of the old Homelands packs. But looking at my old decks, this is the only... I think the only Homelands card that I can think of that stayed in usage for a long period of time. More Land and War Elves, another Elvish Warrior. The Elvish Piper. Now, a perfect card for a stompy deck. Put a creature card from your hand into play. Very overpowered. Any creature you have, as long as this guy's out, then becomes only one drop. More forest. Now, at the time when I built this, I didn't like these with the big symbol. I liked it when it was written out like this. Now you never see lands like this anymore, unless you're playing like a vintage deck. Here's another kind of weird one for you. The Whiptail Worm. Now, this was from, I can't remember what the set's called, but it was designed for new players. So you can see it's not just 8/5, it's 8 sword, 5 shield. And there you go. And more forests. Elven Raiders. And we got this is another card I thought was so cool. The Hungry Mist. It's a 4-drop, 6/2 monster. Takes a big bite out of your mana though, so in truth I don't know how useful it is, but I always liked it. Snow-covered forest. These snow-covered lands are becoming like sought after cards, but we just used them because the artwork was cool. And we bought a lot of Ice Age. I remember walking into the local drugstore, CVS is way around here, and buying Ice Age packs back in the days where you could buy Magic the Gathering cards from CVS. Alright, let's see. Hollow Trees, which is in my opinion the worst non-basic land out there. There it is if you want to read it. It's absolutely terrible. At this point, this only remains in the deck just because it was in the deck 20 years ago and I don't want to make any more changes to it. Ice Age Forest, Havenwood Battleground, and a forest. And there you go. There's my Legacy Green deck. Now, a couple of things. I'm building a standard deck now, so I don't need the cards for anything. And I'm certainly not going to put a sleeved deck in this little box. So at this point, I don't see any reason to pull it apart. Clearly, it's got flaws. Even with my existing legacy cards, I feel like I could do surgery on this deck and bring it back to life. But for now, I'm just leaving it as is, just because I don't know. This is one of the few remaining things I have from the original Magic the Gathering days for me, and a lot of fun that those days were. Well, all right, boys and girls, that's Hot Tea and MTG for this episode. I have been enjoying these. Thank you very much for watching. We're up to 7 subscribers now, and for me and for this channel, that's quite a lot. So thanks very much, and I'll see you guys on the next one.